and welcome to Renew by Down to Earth Ministries. My name is Isaiah Bao, and I'm the founder and director here at DTEM, and I'm going to be your host for today's episode of Renew. As we continue on in our main series for the year called More Like Jesus. And we've been looking at some different ways that we can be more like Jesus. We've looked so far at praying like Jesus, forgiving like Jesus, loving like Jesus, being radical like Jesus by radically caring and radically sharing the gospel. And today we're just going to be looking at being more like Jesus every day. And our main verse for today is 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. And like I said, we're just going to be talking about being more like Jesus every day. First Peter chapter 2, verse 21 says, "For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps." Now think about that for a second. Jesus left us an example. That means that every single day, no matter what we face, we're called to take steps to bring us closer to looking, thinking, speaking, and acting like him. We should be more like Jesus, following after the steps of the example which he left for us. Peter tells us that we are called to follow his steps. It's not really an optional thing. This is the Christian life. The Christian life is to be one that exemplifies the life of Jesus. We are to follow the example which he had laid and strive after those steps which he left behind to guide us. Paul puts it another way in Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 through 14. Here it says, "Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus." That word press tells us that there's effort involved. Growing to be more like Jesus isn't a passive thing. It's intentional. It's waking up every morning and saying, "Lord, help me to take another step closer to you." We are to press toward that mark, forgetting those things which are behind and following after Christ's steps, not turning back, pressing forward. So what does it look like to follow those steps? Let's break it down into a few things. Firstly, it's his character. Exemplified it in a lot of ways, but humility and obedience come to mind. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5 through 8 said, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross." Here, these verses remind us that Jesus humbled himself, became obedient even to the point of death. Being like Jesus means putting aside our pride, humbling ourselves, and being willing to obey God even when it costs us something. Being humble and obedient, just two areas that we can work on to have character like Christ. Next, we can look at his compassion. He loved people deeply. Matthew chapter 9, verse 36 says, "But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd." To follow Jesus' steps, we've got to let our hearts be broken for what his was, the lost, the hurting. He had compassion on them. He saw their need, their greater need, and he had compassion. Thirdly, we can see in his commitment, we can be more like him, living holy and pleasing to God. 1 John chapter 2, verse 6 tells us, "He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also to walk, even as he walked." Talking about those who claim to be Christians, those who are Christians, that say they are, that claim that name, should follow after Jesus' steps, and we should walk as he walked. We should follow the example which he laid for us. So whoever claims to live in Jesus must live as Jesus did. If you claim to be a Christian, simply the verse says act like it. Follow after Jesus' steps. That means rejecting sin, pursuing holiness, and aligning our choices with God's will. In the Christian life, growing towards Christian maturity is never stagnant. Proverbs 4:18 says, "But the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day." The Christian walk should be advancing. We should be shining the light of Jesus brighter and brighter every single day. That means that as we grow in Christ, our lives should shine brighter and brighter. If we're still in the same place spiritually we were last year, then something's wrong. We're called to advance. Becoming more like Jesus every day isn't about sudden perfection. It's about a progress, following after his steps. It doesn't say take this step and you're there. It says follow after his step. So here's your challenge. Pick one area of your life this week that you know you're not fully walking in Jesus' steps. Maybe it's forgiveness, patience, prayer, obedience, whatever it is. Take one intentional step to grow in that area, and then another, and strive to take another each and every day. Remember, the Christian life isn't about staying where you are. It's about moving forward and becoming more and more like the one who saved us. So let's keep pressing forward, one step at a time, to be more like Jesus every day. That's all for this episode of Renew. Until next time, God bless.